nam še enkrat pomaga sreča, no. Samo še enkrat, pred tekmo sem se pogovarjal z Zoranom Predvinom, ki je redno na vseh naših tekmah. Ravno to je rekel, samo še danes, prosim, naj se to zgodi, samo še danes naj nam sreča pomaga, ampak tokrat ni šlo. In v tem trenutku konec tekme 68 proti 67.
This 2011 contest between Union Olimpija and Barcelona would end up being one for the ages. Ricky Rubio is here, so is Joe Ingles, and 8-year NBA vet Allen Anderson. Peering down upon them are 13,000 rowdy fans, some even too excited to contain themselves from causing a ruckus. But most people know their place. The players entertain on the hardwood, and the fans cheer from the comfort of their seats. But one little 11-year-old boy by the name of Luka Doncic found himself somewhere in between. He didn't get a seat like all the other thousands of other fans. He sat on the court itself, quickly getting up to mop the players' sweat and sneak in shots during timeouts. As a mop boy for Union Olimpija, nobody thought much of the squeaky-voiced preteen as he watched his heroes from the sideline in awe. But a decade later, this same kid would drop 42 and 11 on Ricky Rubio in the NBA, only to match up against Joe Ingles a month later and give him 25, 7, and 6. Nowadays, all of us know Luka Doncic, but how many of us know his story? For years, this kid was an unknown, whose biggest believer was himself and himself only. Let's take a look at some grainy, unknown footage of the Wonder Boy and break down how he got to the place he is today. But first, of course, if you enjoy what you're seeing, then hit that subscribe button. We are on the road to 4,000 subs, and as a smaller creator, what can I say? I genuinely do appreciate any support I can get. And with that, let's dive into this. Luka Doncic was born on February 28, 1999, in Ljubljana, Slovenia, to EuroLeague ballplayer Sasa Doncic and supermodel Mirjam Peterbin. As you can see here, an infant Luka had nowhere else to go but from game to game with his father Sasha as he traveled across Europe to play basketball. In this photo, you can see Luka's dad celebrating a tournament victory alongside fellow teammate Goran Dragic, with a little baby Luka jam-packed in the middle of the celebration. A beautiful portrayal of three separate generations making an unlikely collision. With every birthday that would pass, Luka always asked for the same gift: a new basketball. He was practicing so often that every ball he received would get old and gripless within just a few weeks. When Luka was 7, his dad began to notice that all of his hard work was starting to pay off. In absolute awe of his son, he invited Union Olimpija's youth director, Lasse Sisko, to go meet up with Luka. Sisko thought nothing of the event. He was just a 7-year-old boy. How good could he possibly be? But by the time the two were done, Sisko was stunned. He returned to the staff and demanded matter-of-factly that Doncic was going to be training with Union Olimpija as soon as humanly possible. No questions asked. You can't learn this, what he was doing. Sisko would later go on to say, no way can you teach some players or somehow give them this knowledge. He was saying this about a 7-year-old. Within just 16 short minutes of Luka's very first practice for Union Olimpija, the coaches moved him up 4 years, up to the under 11 division, just like that. Even against the older players, Doncic's insane work ethic, athletic genes, and height helped him dominate. He was like a younger brother to us, thus Luka's first ever coach, Jernej Smolnikar, would go on to say. But on the court, it was vice versa. Even though he was the youngest, he always had the biggest shoes. As an 8-year-old, Doncic would sneak into the practices of the under-14 team after he finished up his work for the under-11 team. And after enduring back-to-back hardcore workouts for 2 separate teams, he would then still beg his mother to drive him over to Sasha's practices to go play with the pros. Again, he was doing this at just 8 years old. Smolnikar remembers countless times when he had to beg Doncic to stop going to practice because he was overworking himself. He would go on to say, quote, "I would say to him, be at home, play with your toys or something. You have to rest." But Luka refused to listen. It was that Mamba mentality he had instilled within himself. On the days Luka went with 3 practices in a row, each and every one was a learning experience. He grew. He gained a little bit on his competition. Even though he was so dominant, he didn't get lazy. He was never content.
They were practicing every day almost, and honestly, one practice a day, it was not enough for him.
When he wasn't sneaking into practices, he was sitting a couple feet away from their live games as a mop boy. Luka's dad saw this job as the only way he could get Luka to slow down. The kid always had to be kept busy, and it was impossible to keep an eye on him, so they stuck him at the end of the hoop where they knew he would sit still. By the time Luka was 12, he was already taller than his coach, and quickly gaining on his 6'7" father. As you can see here, he would practice deep into the nights and continue to work well after most of his team had left. But despite the rigorous work, Luka still maintained a strong social life. Here is a quote from Cisco about his insane personality. Quote, "The most unbelievable thing for me was how he could change his personality. He was very focused on the court, but when the match finished, he was an amazing little boy. He was always smiling, joking with the kids. He had a magnetic personality at that age. That is something that is very different from the likes of Jordan or Kobe. A lot of these hardcore, grinded out mentality type guys don't know when to turn off that switch. Apparently, 12-year-old Luka is better at doing this than most NBA legends. At this point, I'm starting to think that this dude is just perfect. I guess that's why they call him the Wonder Boy, and I'm called, nothing, because I'm irrelevant. Please subscribe. It was around this point in Luka's life when Real Madrid asked for him to join their youth team for some on and off Spanish club competitions. A couple MVP trophies later, and the club quickly realized that they had an absolute gem on their hands. So they signed Luka to a 5-year professional contract, pretty much the instant he turned 13. This deal meant everything to Luka. It was what all his hard work had amounted to, but it also broke his mother's heart. He was only 13 years old, and that was a really tough moment for all of us, his mother would go on to say. "I can't describe the feelings of anxiety when you send your kid away from home at 13 years old."
Sobe, jaz poskušam, oziroma sem shranjevala vse njegove nagrade, pokale, sem zdaj ratala malo manj prostora, tako da bo treba kakšno novo vitrino dati. Vsi odličja njegova zelo veliko pomeni. Tako tisto tamle, ki ima neko leseno od krosa, ali pa do recimo nagrade, ki je dobil za Rising Star Eurolige, tako da meni so vse enako pomembni.
All alone in Spain as just a 13-year-old kid, Doncic was at a turning point in his life. His current situation appeared to be a reward for all his years of relentless work. But at the same time, this reward wasn't anything like the countless trophies and plaques he had received before. All his other rewards marked down moments from the past, but this new one had to be lived up to. It wasn't just given and that was that. There were expectations for more implied with this new reward. All these years, and what was Luka really working for? He was working towards the chance to start back at square one. The opportunity to not play pro for the first 2 years of his contract as he continued to develop his game. The opportunity to average 3 minutes in 3 total games in his 3rd year of this contract. That was what everything amounted to. He was once again in the shoes of his 7-year-old self, playing alone at his local court before Union Olimpija had discovered him. But for Luka, this was a familiar feeling. He had been shooed off from his father's practices and was told by his entire family, which for the most part was a bunch of hardcore athletes, that he had to slow down. But he didn't let the negative voices distract him from his goals, and now he stood one step closer to everything he had ever dreamed of. So why let them win now? True stars see moments of adversity as tests. The tests never end. Perhaps Luka at first thought that he won this never-ending boxing match we call life when he garnered attention from Union Olimpija as a 7-year-old. But the hits kept on coming. Earning a spot in Real Madrid's rotation took years. Becoming an NBA prospect took even longer. By the time Wonderboy was gearing up for the NBA, his body had already endured so many tests. It had already taken so many punches, each one bigger than the next, that when it came time to take the biggest punch of them all, Luka made it look easy. Instantly, he was a star in the NBA. And now, life is once again winding back its fists and hitting Luka with yet another test. Dallas has failed to make it out of the first round for all of the 3 years Luka has been there. Many think the team will be stuck in no man's land forever, but if Luka's story can teach us anything, it's that he's become damn good at taking life's punches. To quote the great Rudy Tomjanovic, "Don't ever underestimate the heart of a champion." Thank you so much for watching. Please do subscribe if you enjoyed this video, which, I don't know, I assumed you did since you made it all the way to the end. Let me know about any thoughts you have in the comments below about Luka's story. And with that, as always, stay safe out there.
Gotta get it in. Here's Luka. Gets it away.